Hello! Hi, friends! Welcome again to the Curiosity Lab with Miss Courtney. I am your host. Today we are going to be exploring tenacious technology. So last week we did spectacular science. This week we are on to tenacious technology. So now I know with social distancing, everyone kind of cringes at the idea of more space. But today's topic, as you saw from the description, is about outer space. So our own amateur astronomer, Miss Audrey, who is at our Caledonia branch, is going to be exploring the stars, deep space, and showing you how you can be an amateur astronomer too. Sounds a little intimidating, I know, but don't worry. Every great astronomer or hobby astronomer has started with a simple love of stars and space, but has grown in their knowledge because of their tenacious curiosity. Miss Audrey is going to be showing you an easy craft to make your own planisphere so you can learn about the different constellations in the sky. She's also going to show you how telescopes work, including her own personal telescopes, and give you some helpful hints that all space cadets should know as well. And she'll be sharing some amazing resources so you can rocket off into whatever area of space interests you. Now, a reminder that KDL is hosting hundreds of virtual programs this summer. Next week, you can be joining me for a DIY bot. So we're going to be doing the engineering experience at the same time, same place. So gather all your recyclables for next week. A reminder, if you need any more information about how to participate in our new summer reading challenge, aka Summer Wonder, you can go to kdl.org/summer and there will be info about our events. There will be info about how to participate for all age groups because everyone can participate from the youngest in your house to the oldest in your house. So make sure that you follow along and you count the days that you're reading or doing things or writing. There's lots of STEAM activities. But without further ado, I am going to roll the tape and Miss Audrey is going to share with us her telescopes and how to make your own planisphere and what things you should look for in the sky. So without further ado, I am going to...
Hey friends, amateur astronomer Audrey here, or as my friends call me, it's just Miss Audrey. I'm here in my backyard today with the birds and the nice breeze to show you my telescopes. So these are a few from my collection. There's two main different types of telescopes. One of the number one things I get asked as an amateur astronomer is, what type of telescope do I buy? So there are two main kinds. It depends on what you want to look at. So one of the things that a lot of people love to look at is, of course, the moon or the stars. Now, you can use binoculars for those types of things. You can see things like Jupiter and Saturn and, of course, the moon with a good set of binoculars. However, be very careful looking at things like the moon. It actually is quite bright and it can hurt your eye looking directly at it. So, because the light will just come in and it'll almost kind of sunburn your eye. So be very, very careful. Never, ever, ever look at the sun through a telescope or binoculars, though. So one of the first things is, this is a refractor telescope. A refractor telescope will give you a really great view of things like the moon and planets and things in our solar system, whether it's the Kuiper Belt or, the moons of Jupiter, which there are many. So this type of telescope will actually help you find some really great things in space, but more locally. And so this is called a reflector telescope. Now the reason why is that the light goes into the tube all the way down to the bottom. It reflects off a little mirror and bounces back up towards the eyepiece. See my eyepiece. The eyepiece is right here. Then there's a little mirror that it reflects into so you can see it through your eyepiece. Now, it's kind of like a periscope, if you know how a periscope works, but it'll see things really, really deep space as long as you're using the right eyepieces. So things like this telescope will see things like galaxies and nebula, which are my personal favorite. And you can also take some pretty good pictures with them. This one is also a reflector telescope. They all have different benefits. They all have different drawbacks. These two are obviously more portable than this one, but this one will let me see a lot deeper because it allows more light in. It seems very intimidating, but everybody starts somewhere, and there's always somebody that knows more than somebody else about something in space. So we're all learning from each other. So right now, we can't really see much in space because of two main factors. Now, we do have some cloud cover to the south, which will hinder us being able to see anything over there. We obviously can't see through clouds. There's also trees around my yard, so I do have to make sure that I'm paying attention to where the trees are and other objects that might block my view. Now, the number one thing that will stop you from seeing space really well is light. So we're looking for light in space, but when the sun's up, we can't see space. The stars aren't gone, they're just kind of flooded out with all the light that we have. So we're going to come back later tonight, wearing more of our clothes, maybe a little bug spray. We're going to have a nice red flashlight so it's just the darkness, and then we're going to see what we can find in space. Hooray!
All right, friends, welcome back inside. That night ended up being pretty poor for viewing. As soon as we got the telescope set up, the clouds came rolling in, and we haven't had a clear shot yet. So I'm going to show you some fun pictures that either I have taken or other astrophotographers have taken of space. So let's see some fun stuff. So first up, we have Saturn. Everybody knows Saturn. Everybody loves Saturn because it has the beautiful rings around it. And Saturn is gorgeous to look at during the summer. Now in the spring or early summer, you actually get up early in the morning to see it. But later in the summer, in August, you will be able to see it at a more reasonable time. As well as one of my favorite planets to view, Jupiter. So here's a picture of Jupiter. Jupiter is massive. It is so huge. In fact, there's a storm on Jupiter. If you look close at the picture, you can see it. There's a storm on Jupiter, and it's called Jupiter's Eye. This storm is 2 to 3 times as big as our entire planet Earth. So it's very interesting to see. And plus, Jupiter has so many moons. Here's a picture I took of Jupiter. There are other astrophotographers that do much better than I do, but this is one that I'm particularly proud of. Now, another fun thing to look at in the summer sky is, of course, the Big Dipper. Now, if you found the Big Dipper, you can find the brightest star in the sky, Arcturus. Arcturus is in the constellation of Boötes. I always say that wrong. But it's in the northeast sky. Now in June, around mid-June, there is a meteor shower that circles around this constellation. So if you look in the northeast, find your adult and have them help you find northeast. Around June, mid-June, I believe it's supposed to peak around June 17th this year. As long as skies are clear, you should see a wonderful meteor shower. Now, speaking of meteor showers, again, going to the end of summer, August has one, the Perseids meteor shower, and that is absolutely my favorite meteor shower of the year. It's nice and warm outside, the skies are sometimes clear, and lots of meteors come from this. Now, meteor showers are an annual thing. You might see them on the news every now and then, but they come every year. So as our Earth circles around the sun, we go through these spots just full of rocks. And all those rocks are what those meteors are, flying down towards Earth. So imagine driving through a bug storm. So if you're driving around and then you hit a bunch of bugs, you get a bunch of bugs on your windshield. It's not very fun for you or the bugs. But the meteor shower is the same way. We're just kind of going through, and our windshield, our atmosphere, is hitting all those rocks as they come smashing down to Earth. Now, another important thing about meteors is every time you see one, you get a wish. You heard it from amateur astronomer Audrey, or Miss Audrey. I don't remember what I'm going by. But you get a wish every time you see a meteor. The moon has different phases. Another important thing. So usually we talked about light pollution and how things aren't easily seen if there's a lot of light in the sky. So when the moon is full, it actually fills the sky with a lot of light. So it makes it a little bit harder to see. Now, the moon does go through phases, and this is how I remember it. So, the wax on, wax off, wax. So the moon, when it's turning brighter, waxes on. When it's getting dimmer, it waxes off. Now, when the moon is covered up, it's actually a shadow of Earth showing up on it. So it's just the location of where Earth is in comparison to the moon and the sun. So it's just a shadow, that's all. But the more of the shadow, the less of the light. The less of the light, stars. Hooray! Okay, so today we're also going to be making something fun. Now, these printouts you can print out at home. They're very accessible online. They're called Planispheres. Now, a planisphere is just a circular thing that you can put together that will help you find different constellations in the sky. Now, I would like to highly recommend, if you get into constellations, very much recommend checking out some books on the different stories behind the constellations. Now, every ancient civilization had their own stories, Native Americans and Chinese and Indian, and of course the Greek, which many of ours are named after. But oddly enough, a lot of those ancient civilizations picked out the same groups of stars to put into a constellation. But there's so many great stories behind them from all different areas of the world. They're just beautiful. I didn't mention too, there's also African constellations and South American constellations with different stories. So stories helped them remember the different constellations. Now, constellations were really important a long time ago because people out in the wilderness or sailing would use the constellations to help them figure out where things are. So we're going to make a planisphere so we get to learn a little bit about the different constellations and where they are.
To begin with our planispheres, you will first want to visit the website shown on screen, in-the-sky.org/planisphere. So go there, print out your planisphere, and then we'll build it together.
So there are 5 pages to this packet with instructions. These are our 2 main ones. So we're going to start by cutting these out. So now we're going to line the holes up for the center. And just stick our brad right through. And you have yourself a planisphere. Now you're going to have to play around with it a little bit because it has the time of day, and you also have to match up the date. So let's see, June 10th at, we have June 10th at about 7:30 p.m. These will be the constellations you'll find in the sky. So you can use it, and they're labeled north and west and south, and you'll be able to find all sorts of different things. Then, once you know the constellations, look up some fun stories. So the Boötes that I was talking about earlier, that constellation is super important in Chinese astronomy because that is when marks their Chinese New Year. For Planisphere, I want to also tell you about some local resources. So the Wien Observatory, here's a quick picture of me there. The telescopes there are amazing. The amateur astronomers there are extremely knowledgeable and they love questions. There is an open night every other Saturday as long as weather and of course the pandemic allow. So you can go there. It's a minimal cover to get in just to help maintain the place. But it's a wonderful place to go ask questions. But a couple different things to know when you go there.
One, if you bring a flashlight, put some red tape over it. Bright light, it takes about a half an hour for eyes to adjust to the darkness. So astronomers use red light because astronomers tend to use red light, so your eyes don't need to adjust as much. Don't go up there with a bright flashlight. Don't take pictures with a flash on or anything like that, because it'll take so much longer for your eyes to completely adjust to the dark. Or if you don't have a telescope and still want to see things very magnified, the Hubble telescope, which is a huge, huge telescope floating around in space, has some wonderful images that you can download for free. Here are a couple of my favorite images from the Hubble telescope. First up is the Crab Nebula. This nebula is a nursery where new stars can be born all the time. Nebulas are fantastic things. They're exploded stars, and all of that dust from the star then becomes new stars. Next up, we have a picture of the Hubble telescope itself. So as you can see, it's very, very, very large. It's probably bigger than your house even. And it can take some magnificent pictures. So one of my other favorite pictures, next up, this one is of deep space. So all of those little dots are galaxies. So our galaxy is the Milky Way and has millions, hundreds of millions of stars in it. Each of these dots is a galaxy, and each of those galaxies also have hundreds of millions of stars. So this is why I find space so humbling, because there is so much out there to discover, so much out there to be mesmerized by, and so much beauty out there. Just gotta look for it. So anyways, friends, thanks for joining me today. Please feel free to come visit me sometime and ask lots of space questions, or visit one of your other librarians and they can email them to me. I love space questions, and I love all you. I hope you are staying safe and healthy and happy during this crazy pandemic. And if you feel alone, just know we're all under the same sky. Bye, friends.
All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for joining us and Miss Audrey for our DIY Planisphere and stargazing. I hope you learned a little bit about space and telescopes, and I hope you try and make your own planisphere and locate some of the constellations in the sky. Hopefully the clouds clear up and you're able to do that. But yeah, don't forget that you can put some astronomy books on hold. We are starting curbside pickup on June 15th, so start placing those books on hold. And I will see you next week with another STEAM program. Bye.